Hey everybody, Natalie Cutler-Welsh from parenting blog, book, and podcast, If Only They Told Me, also known as the Go-To Girl. And today I'm carrying on our theme. We're talking about how to be a happy, healthy mom. Because I feel like it's something that we strive for, hopefully, to be happy and to also be healthy. And I've been interviewing a series of ladies. And today I've got the lovely Sonia Dalton, who's going to share with us her insights, not only as a mother of three, but also as a psychotherapist and someone who is currently making a film all about women and the journey of motherhood. So Sonia, I'll hand it to you to do a little intro. Tell us a little bit about you and what you're up to at the moment.
Thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you for having me, Nat. I'm very excited about sharing what I'm doing with you and with your audience. I've been very, very busy actually on the motherhood side of things. So I'm very happy to share a little bit of that with you today. As you said, I'm a mother of three. I've been a mother for 10 years. So I'm starting to feel a little bit more like an experienced mother, and I feel like, okay, now we can start talking about this. It was quite a challenging journey for me, motherhood, which caught me by surprise in a foreign country, and that meant that I had to change everything in my life. And I had to leave my country, I had to leave my job as a filmmaker, which is what I was doing at the time. I had to move in with my partner and father of my child, who was living in London at the time. And so I ended up living in a foreign country for 10 years. And that's when I retrained and I became a psychotherapist as well. And I now work with women that have some kind of challenging journey as well with motherhood. And I'm very interested, of course, in what happens to the experience of motherhood in relation to mental health, because this is my expertise and my training and where I come from. So with Mama the Film, what I'm trying to do is to create a bridge between my two professions, my previous profession as a filmmaker and my current profession as a counselor. Trying to create a film that heals. That's my purpose. I want to create a film that is informative, that gives mother an opportunity to find their voice and share their experience and talk about what their experience has been like or is being like in a very honest, authentic, and also raw manner. I don't want mothers to feel stereotyped or to feel judged in their experience of motherhood. So somehow I want to shatter the stigma of mental health and maternal mental health, but also shatter the stereotypes of the ideal mother, and just bring along people that are ready and happy to share the real experience of motherhood. So yeah, it's a film, but it's also some kind of therapeutic experience for everybody involved, for myself to start with, but also for all the people that are working in this project, that are helping out, all the mothers that I'm interviewing weekly for the Mama Live chats on Facebook. So yeah, I really believe very strongly in this project, and I'm really hoping that I can create a platform for women to find their health and their happiness, which is what you're doing too.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think a lot of women do find motherhood, the journey, harder than they expected. I mean, anybody who has followed our blog or read our book will know that Jackie and I are the same. You know, she thought she would just tuck baby under her arm and go on back to work. And I just thought, you know, I'm pretty cruising and fun and positive and I've got lots of energy and this should be sweet. But I also found it harder than I expected. So, and then if you add a layer of and mental, you know, anxiety and depression on top of that, it can be really, really challenging. So in your research and in the women that you've worked with, and also your own experience, what is if you could share with us maybe 3 of your tips. I know you've got more than that, but maybe 3 tips that can help the mothers watching, or even the fathers that are watching this, to help the woman be happier.
I think it's important to remember that actually dads are there too. So this is not only for, and we talk about women a lot because that's our perspective, because we are women, but you know, fathers are part of the equation as well. So absolutely. Yes, I have 10 practical tips that I wanted to share on my website for everybody that is interested in finding out what worked for me. The tips that I give are really based on my own experience of motherhood and the research that I've done and the studies that I've done and the work that I've done with women. But having to choose 3, I've decided to choose number 1 is ask for help. This is something that I had to learn. I'm not a person that easily asks for help. And I think that this is kind of a feature of us women. We are all, Wonder Women, trying to do it all, especially, since feminism, since the 60s, we have kind of found our emancipation, and we have kind of found our place in the workplace. But we haven't really managed to ask for help in the way that I would like women to learn through this film, because it's there's kind of an assumption that we have to do it all, and we have to juggle our careers, and we have to juggle our nights up breastfeeding or changing nappies, and this is not totally true, because help is available, help is there, and we need to learn to ask for it, because that makes such a big difference. To accept it, to surrender to the fact that we can't do it all and we can't know it all, and in actually having the support can make a massive difference for our mental health, for our levels of stress, for our levels of anxiety, and some of the symptoms that we can develop sometimes that we wouldn't develop them if we had the support and the help around us. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about during the production of this film is that it's the famous saying, "It takes a village to raise a child." And for me, it is about creating this village. Why does it take a village to raise a child? Why are we not having this village available for us, around us anymore? So asking for help goes with, okay, where's the village? Where's my support network? Who can I ask help to? And it's really important to have that clear in mind. I remember very distinctly the day I learned this lesson was a day that I had to go to work, and the childcare fell apart, and I was kind of desperate, because in my line of work you can't just call in sick. There are clients that have been waiting the whole week to see you, and you can't really let them down. And I was kind of desperate, and so I started picking up the phone, looking for other people that could come and help me. And by the end of this series of phone calls, which were quite few, 7 or 8, I realized actually there are 7 or 8 people that I can ask help to in a foreign country, without my family around, without anybody close to me around. There are still 7 people that I can ask help to. So I think it's important that we understand that help is there, help is available, and we have to come over this culture of doing it all by ourselves. That's not possible, because it does take a village to raise a child. So let's do it together. Let's ask for help. Let's come together and contribute to each other's lives.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. One thing I wanted to ask you is, do you feel like we are forthcoming? Are we better at offering help than asking, or are we just trying to do everything by ourselves?
Absolutely. But this is something that I wanted actually to say something about, because yes, we are good at offering help, but not necessarily people are good at receiving that help. So I'm saying, ask for help and say yes if somebody offers some. Because that's the other thing that we always say, oh, no, I'm fine, I can do it by myself. No, actually, this person is asking for help. Sometimes people also want to be part of your life, part of your daily routine. They really genuinely want to be part of that. So to say yes to an offer from a friend, or even sometimes a person that is not necessarily close in your life, but want to be closer to you, who understands your struggle and is offering the help genuinely. Let's learn to say yes to help. So ask for help and say yes when it's offered.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that we often talk about is, the offers of help are thick and fast when you have baby number 1. When you have baby number 2, your friends often are busy with their baby, and you actually have less people offering. And baby number 3 or 4, it's like, who knows? But I feel like if we get into the swing of actually being able to ask for help. And one of the tips that we give is put on a piece of paper on the fridge, write down 10 things that you would love someone to do for you. And when someone says, what can I do to help? You literally just look at the list and pick something. It might even be, empty the dishwasher, if you're in the young early stages. It might be babysit one night so my husband and I can have a date night. Just write a list of 10 things. And then when someone asks, you don't even have to think. You just point to the list, or you say to them, just choose one thing. Here's the list. You pick whatever you want.
See what you can do of these ones. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's important to do with our husbands and partners as well, because they come back and they don't really know where you're at with your routine, and so it's important to fill them in and say, yeah, this is exactly what I need. Can you put the bins out or whatever it is that you need? It's sometimes things can be. A change can be produced by by very little changes. So if you change a little detail of your routine, that can actually echo a bigger change, and it's an internal change. It changes somehow the way we feel about ourselves, about the way we feel about our network around us. So it's really important just to start. What I say to my clients all the time, just start with baby steps. We don't have to change the world in a day, but we have to change that one thing that could be just emptying the dishwasher. Mm-hmm. Because when you see that actually there is help there, you kind of feel a little bit more self-empowered. And also you take a little bit of that responsibility off your shoulders of having to do everything. So sometimes it's really about changing your mindset, and that's, maybe that brings us actually to my other tip, which is work on your self-development all the time, which is not actually a tip included in my more practical 10 ones that I put in the website. But working on your self-development is such an important thing that goes, everywhere. And I'm thinking that motherhood can sometimes bring up your own experience of childhood or your own experience of trauma, and sometimes all the mental health symptoms that we develop, like anxiety and post-traumatic stress or postpartum depression, which is the thing that everybody talks about, but it's not the only symptom that we can develop. Sometimes we develop these symptoms because some things are triggered through motherhood. So it's important to go back to our original wound and heal that wound. That's why I talk about creating a film that heals, because if we heal the wound, everything then will fall into place as a consequence of that. Sometimes we don't even have to work on our symptom, because if we have healed that original inner conflict that we have, everything as a consequence will just go in the right direction. So self-development is something that actually has helped me a lot, and that's why I feel comfortable to recommend that. When I became a mother, I also retrained. So my retraining as a psychotherapist coincided with my experience of motherhood. So the two things for me go really together. How I've experienced my experience of raising my children, my experience of learning so much about myself through my course, my 6 years of studies, during which I had to be in personal therapy as a requirement of the degree. So I've learned so much about my shadow side, and I shed so much light on that it just made my experience of motherhood so much easier, because I was able to heal my own experience of being a child and become much more aware of what I was doing and why I was reacting in the way I was reacting, and what the tricks that my ego was playing, or the mindsets that I had, the thinking patterns, the defense mechanisms, the inner games. And once you learn all of that, it's so much easier to be at service for others, for your children in particular. That's what we're talking about, and find your own happiness, because you find your own self-worth and your self-love, and you kind of manage to put yourself first in the way that your children need you to do. Because being a mother is all about being at somebody else's disposal, and your body becomes, that's the way I felt, and I know that many mothers feel the same. It feels like your body belongs to somebody else all of a sudden. You're carrying your child, and then you're breastfeeding. You have to put attention into what you eat and your lifestyle and what you drink, whether you drink or you're not. And it's somehow you lose kind of those boundaries that defined you before the pregnancy, before you became a mother. So it's really important that you create a space in which you can take care of yourself. So create a me time, a me space. It's really important for self-reflection, for not necessarily to do something practical. Sometimes it's just about creating that space for self-reflection. So what is going on for me? How am I feeling? How do I feel about this thing that is happening? What is my reaction to this other thing? Why am I reacting that way? Do start a journey of self-discovery and self-development that will be so beneficial for your experience of motherhood as well, and for the way you mother.
And you've mentioned so many interesting things, like triggering, experiences and memories from our past. A lot of stuff that I talk about as well around, like, I used to come from a place of lack very much as a mother with little kids, rather than being appreciative. And just, I think sometimes we we want me time, but we're like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I can't even go to the toilet. Don't tell me I need, like, how are we going to get me time? We kind of get into this state of, and I used to feel like that, sands through the hourglass. Like I had no time. Everything was, I just had no me time anymore. And I had to be productive when the baby was sleeping. And, you put all the pressure on yourself. You mentioned so many things about personal development. I think that's, definitely something that people can work on. I think some people might be sitting here going, oh my gosh, I can't even go to the toilet. How can I go and do a personal development course or read a book? Yeah. Even a webinar, I think a webinar would be amazing for mothers around personal development. I don't know if with you probably don't have time for that either, but that would be fascinating because some of the concepts that you're mentioning are going to be really new to some people, whereas other people who have done personal development work, they would have heard of some of those concepts. Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that you can look at going forward, but I think that the key point to take away is definitely looking after, number one, looking after ourselves, because we do almost become, like you say, your body's at the disposal of somebody else. One of the things I found the hardest, and I still do, I have to say, my kids are 6, 8, and 10. I still find the hardest thing, constant interruptions. Yeah. And that does not, so used to be my body, like, have to feed them or whatever. And then they'd be sitting on my knee when I'm trying to eat, which was kind of cute and kind of annoying. And now, I still feel like even when I'm doing something, but I think a lot of that is perception, and a lot of that is boundaries, and a lot of that is me making it clear about when I'm available, when I'm not available, when I'm working, when I'm not working. And now they're at school, right? So it's a bit different than when they were little, but I feel like my perception and my management of my own time and making sure that when I'm with them, I am with them and not trying to do other things, will help me to be in that space of gratitude rather than bitterness and resentment. Yeah, I think it's, I like to talk about this as a journey because that's what it is. And you come to the realizations that you need to come to as you go along. And it's not, children don't come with a manual and they shouldn't, because they're people. So there isn't one size that fits them all. But also we were not born mothers. We were not born parents. We learn to become parents as we go along. And that's why I'm doing this 10 years later, because I would have never been able to give, even if I had the knowledge as a psychotherapist, and even if I was already counseling women at the time, I was not able to do something like a film, creating some kind of manifesto of motherhood as I'm doing now with my work with Mama the Film, because it took me 10 years to become the mother that I am now, that I feel kind of okay with. And there's still room for further growth. It's an ongoing process. I don't feel like I got anywhere. I just got to that point where I can look back and share my knowledge and share my experience, share my tips with mothers that are a little bit behind in the process, that are just starting that process. But I don't feel like I've arrived anywhere. I've got adolescents ahead of me to deal with. There will be a completely new chapter to the story. But I think to keep that curiosity, to keep that open mind while we go through this journey is really important, and to create a space for that to happen is so important. And if you can't do it by yourself, there are professionals that are available, that are prepared to gift you with their knowledge and their expertise. There are webinars. Personally, my daily routine, having a daily routine is very important, and it's one of the tips that you will find in my 10 tips. But personally, I will watch a webinar while I'm exercising. I don't even need to go to the gym, or just do my 15 minutes of exercise while I'm listening to a webinar. So that there are ways to do things. Obviously, my children are the same age as yours, so we now have these few hours in the morning, and that makes things so much easier. Some women don't have that. But there is still a time when the babies are sleeping. There is still a time when we can find those 15 minutes. Sometimes you don't need much more than that. That's the interesting thing. Shifts can happen even with little time of work. And sometimes it's the regularity of the work rather than the amount of time that can make a difference. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wouldn't think about self-development as this massive mountain to climb. It can be taken a little step at a time, baby steps, as I was saying before, that will eventually take you where you need to be. I agree. All right. What is one of your other tips?
So my last tip is trust your inner wisdom. So why did I choose this one out of the 10? Because one thing that I've learned, which was a major lesson for me as well, was that I was not trusting my inner wisdom. My inner wisdom as a person, my inner wisdom as a mother. And especially when you become something, you know, when you take on a new role in your life and your identity changes so much, it's very difficult to trust that you're doing it right. And I personally became a mother in a foreign country. I didn't have, you know, the family and the support that I would have had in my own country. I was speaking a foreign language every day, so I didn't necessarily understand exactly the advice that was coming my way because of the cultural differences and, you know, things getting lost in translation. And I realized that I was stressing all the time. I was convinced that I was doing it wrong. Whatever I was doing, I was just listening to this advice, but I was just not finding my own mothering style or my own way of being mom and mama, you know, mama my way. You know, that's the other thing that I say all the time. How can you be mama your way? And how can you find your way? That's one thing that I've learned to do, just trying things out. But trusting your inner wisdom is so important, because actually this knowledge is inside you. You don't need to get it from the outside world. You don't need to get it from anybody else, because they are doing it in their own way, which might not be right for you and your family, or for you and your child. You know, these children come with a personality, with needs that are specific to them. And why do we have to listen to somebody else's opinion about it? Why can't we just tune in with our own child and find what is right for us? And we can only do it if we can tune in with our inner wisdom and connect with it and just find it, because it's there, the knowledge is there, it's available. We just need to draw from it, and trust it. Trust that actually you've got all that you need to provide the best possible way to meet your child's needs. But that's something that I couldn't do at the time. And the other thing that I became aware of was that actually if people are not part of your family, they can't really judge what you're doing and your parenting and the way you are doing things, because they are not part of those dynamics. They are not part of the household. They don't know for sure what works for you as a family. So that's why it's important just to connect with all that knowledge that we all have inside ourselves, because that's actually the truth of what we need more than anything else, more than any other manuals and outside knowledge. I'm aware of the time. Are we coming to?
No, that's good. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned a few times, you know, being a foreigner in a different country, and then the layer on top of that is, you know, following your own intuition and your own way. And of course, different cultures will have different ways of doing things. I would love to know from you, have you found that from the women you've met with, that women who were, I call them, I don't like the term immigrant, I say born somewhere else.
Yeah.
So women that were born somewhere else, or international women, you know, versus Kiwis here where we're living in New Zealand. Is there a similar incidence of depression or you know, women having a hard time? Do you see any correlation there between, you know, international women?
I think I can see something. I definitely noticed some links, especially since my recent trip I was filming in India last month, and it was actually quite interesting to make that comparison between our Western world, and by Western world, I personally know the Italian Western world, the English Western world, and now the Kiwi Western world, and the Indian tradition about motherhood, which was such a different thing to see, because they have this joint family concept that is still very alive. So there is not only one mother when the child comes along. There are many mothers. There is the biological mother. There is the grandmother, the mother-in-law, the niece, the sister, the older sister, the younger sister, and that makes the whole experience of motherhood so much less daunting, because you can go to the toilet. You don't have to plan when you wash your hair. You can just go and have a shower, because there's a mother-in-law, there's a grandmother there available to look after the child while you're in the toilet, which is not something that we can experience, you know, in the way we live in a Western world. So definitely there is something that makes a massive difference in your experience of motherhood, depending on what culture you become a mother in. Absolutely, I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, and I've got a few friends here in New Zealand, born somewhere else, and few of them have mother-in-law One of my friends, her husband's Chinese, the mother-in-law lives next door. Another friend, she's Russian. The parents live in a separate but attached house to her. And that's, that's very cultural, and it does make things easier, in those early years when you're trying to squeeze in some work while you're dropping the kids off at kindy and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if I just compare it to my own experience of childhood, we used to live all together with my mom and her siblings. We were all living in the same building. So I had, 4 moms and 4 dads and 8 siblings, and we were always playing together. And we only just need one adult monitoring us out of the 8 that were living in the building. So that made so much easier for my mom, for example, to pursue her career, because the school runs were all done by the same person. We had a van, and so we would just be thrown into the van all together, and one of them would take turns in doing the school run. So that makes your life on a daily basis so much easier and manageable, and you can just do so many other things if you want to do other things with your life.
So in terms of the film, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the film and how people can either follow that or support that, and also how they can get the 10 tips. So with the film, are you going to be filming a few key people and sharing their journey and their experience?
Yeah, so when I was in India, I like to interview moms who are experiencing some kind of mental health issues. Mm-hmm. Mental health needs some rebranding. I don't like this kind of phrase because it just feels like, oh, there's something wrong with you. No, you're just going through some kind of experience, which is often a blessing in disguise. It's often an experience of awakening. So it's good, but that's the way we feel when we say mental health. But yeah, I want to interview or follow a couple, maybe 3 mothers that are experiencing this type of struggles. And then I interviewed many experts, from when I was in India, for example. I interviewed a sociology professor at university that teaches about matrilineal society. So I just want to give the audience an experience of understanding what motherhood is about, which is not what we see in films and advertising, but what is the real experience of motherhood, but also learn a little bit more about mental health and about motherhood stereotypes. So, everybody that can come and help with this type of purpose are welcome. So I feel sometimes like this film can take a direction that I don't even know it yet, because one person just feel like the perfect fit when I meet them, but I don't even know about them yet. I was recently approached by somebody in Switzerland with an amazing idea, which I would have never thought about. And so we are now starting a collaboration there. So I'm really open to whatever this film needs to become. I just want to be of service for the community of mothers who are struggling and provide a healing experience for them. That's the purpose that I have in mind. There's a crowdfunding campaign that is going on Give a Little.co.nz. People can just send us a little contribution. What I always say, we don't need a lot of money. We just need somebody to give up the kappa for one day and give us $5, because if lots of people chip in $5 each, we will get to the 100,000 that we need to produce this film. As I go along, there are so many people that are contributing in other different ways, from organizing a trip to India to, helping with the promotion on Facebook. People are helping, are being generous in all different ways. It's not just about the money that you give through the crowdfunding. So if people want to be part of this project, just by liking the page, just by sharing a post, they're already being part of this project. So it's not just about the crowdfunding, but that's something that we need to, so that I can pay people, because there are so many people that are coming and working for free, from camera operators to editors to, everybody's just helping and contributing in the way they can. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But the crowdfunding, givealittle.co.nz.
Okay, we will put the link up for that.
Okay. There's a Mama's website that I'm in the process of creating content for. It's only just started. I'm still working on it. But you can find the 10 tips there. You can just browse it. There will be stories of moms there. There's going to be a forum. I'm going to be more part of the forum. So if you want to reach out to me as a therapist, as a holistic counselor, that I can help with this type of issues, please do. Through the website, you can do it, or there's a Facebook page as well, which is hosting all the lives that we're doing, the mama chats that we're doing weekly. And if you're struggling and you want to work with me, there's my website that has been there for a while now, which is soniadalton.com, where you can learn about the way I do holistic counseling and integrative psychotherapist. You can also learn about my 7-week program, which is Rewrite Your Script, because I believe that sometimes we live our life according to some characters that keep saying the same dialogues and keeps repeating the same actions according to a script that doesn't serve us anymore. And this is a very specific 6-week program that I devised many years ago, where I do very specific exercises to rewrite your script and live life by your own, who you really are. And these are exercises that I wrote that you will not find anywhere else. I wrote several years ago, and I use them with lots of clients and groups as well. So you can learn all about my approach, my integrative approach, what that means, from soniadalton.com. But yeah, you can find the link, I understand. So yeah, what else can I share with you?
Well, that's great. What I'll do is I'll pop the links when we post this. I'll pop the links in there, and that's amazing. It'll be so good to watch the progress of your film. What is the approximate time frame, if you have one, for when it might come out?
Well, we are from now to September. This is still the phase of working hard, and we see 10-4 as the harvesting phase of this working hard and planting seeds phase. Okay. And 2018 is the time when most of the filming will be completed, and the footage will be edited. So the film will be available for watching in 2019.
Okay, right.
Yeah. It's a long process.
It's a long process. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonia. And thank you for watching this. For those of you that are watching, comment below, by the way. Let us know what are some of the things that you have actually found the hardest, or that surprised you the most, that they're harder than you thought they would be, about that motherhood journey. We'd love to know your thoughts about It Takes a Village, some of you will have a village around you, some of you won't. So we'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And thank you so much, Sonia, for sharing your tips. And we'll see you guys next time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.